Hi, and welcome to Ginger English. I'm Sarah, joined as always by Marcus, and today we have a B1 level podcast for you. Okay, so imagine this. It's a regular Tuesday night in Tucson, Arizona. The sun went down a few hours ago. The desert air is finally cooling off. And most people in a quiet residential neighborhood on the east side of the city are just watching TV, doing the dishes, or getting ready for bed. Normal stuff. A completely normal night. Nothing special going on at all. But then one neighbor hears something. A loud noise coming from the house next door. Maybe a scream, maybe something heavy falling. He's not totally sure what it was. He stands still for a moment and listens. The street goes quiet again. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe it was just the TV turned up too loud. He waits a few more minutes, staring at the wall between his house and theirs. And then he decides to call the police anyway, just to be safe, just in case. When officers arrive at the house, they knock on the front door. A man opens it. His name is Ricky. He's 37 years old. He looks calm, relaxed even, maybe a little too relaxed for someone who just had police show up at his door at 10 o'clock at night. He tells the officers everything is fine. His wife, Donna, she just left to visit her sister. Packed a bag, got in the car, and drove off a little while ago. No big deal. Nothing to worry about. Just a family trip. The officers look around a bit, ask a few basic questions, don't see anything obviously wrong. Ricky is cooperative and polite. He doesn't seem nervous or uncomfortable, and so they leave. Case closed. Or so everyone thinks. Because 1 week later, Donna's sister picks up the phone and calls the police herself. And what she says stops everything cold. She hasn't seen Donna, not in a week, not recently at all. She hasn't spoken to or seen her sister in several months. So where is Donna? What actually happened inside that house on that quiet Tuesday night in Tucson? Why did Ricky lie so easily, so quickly, like he had the answer already prepared before they even knocked on the door? And maybe the most important question of all, is Donna even okay? That's exactly what we're going to talk about today. And I want to warn you right now, this story goes to some very dark and uncomfortable places before it finds any kind of light. But it does find it. It really does. Just not in the way that anyone expected, not the police, not the neighbors, not even Donna's own family. So stay with us, get comfortable, because you are going to want to hear every single part of how this ends. Let me start from the very beginning. Before that Tuesday night, before the neighbor's phone call, before any of this, let me take you back to who Donna was, where she came from, and to the neighborhood in Tucson where everyone thought they already knew exactly what kind of couple Donna and Ricky Garcia were. Donna Garcia was 34 years old. She grew up in Phoenix, about 2 hours north of Tucson, in a working-class family. Her parents worked hard. Money was always a little tight, but her mom always said their home was full of love. Donna was the kind of girl who remembered everyone's birthday, who brought food to neighbors when they were sick, who stayed after school to help clean up the classroom. People liked her. Actually, people loved her. She met Ricky when she was 24. He was funny, confident, good-looking. He had this big energy, you know, the kind of person who walks into a room and suddenly everyone is paying attention. Donna's friends liked him at first. Her mom liked him. Her coworkers thought he was charming. Everything seemed great. Everything seemed normal. They got married 2 years later and moved to Tucson for Ricky's job. New city, new start. Donna didn't know many people there, but she was okay with that. She had Ricky. She found a part-time job at a local bakery, started to learn the neighborhood, planted some flowers in the front yard. She was building something real, a home, a life. But here's the thing about Ricky, and this took a long time for anyone outside the house to see. Ricky had a very specific idea of how things should be, how the house should look, what Donna should wear, who she could talk to, and for how long. At first, it seemed like he just cared a lot. He wanted to know where she was going. He called her a few times a day. He didn't really like it when she made plans without telling him first. He needed to know everything. Donna told herself it was love, that he just wanted to be close to her. That's what people do when they care about someone, right? But slowly, so slowly that it was almost impossible to notice from the inside, things changed. Ricky started getting angry more easily. Small things bothered him. If dinner wasn't ready when he got home, if Donna talked to a coworker a little too long, if she bought something at the store he didn't approve of. And when Ricky got angry, the whole house felt it. The air changed. You could feel it in the walls. He never hit her. Or at least, that's what Donna told herself for years. A push here, a grab there. Those didn't count, did they? But the words. The words were something else entirely. Ricky had a way of making her feel small, stupid, like she was lucky he was even there with her, like she should be grateful. And over time, slowly, painfully, Donna started to believe it. By the time they had been in Tucson for 5 years, Donna had almost no friends left. She had stopped calling her sister regularly. She saw her parents maybe once a year, always with Ricky there, always careful about what she said and how she said it. The woman who used to bring food to neighbors and remember everyone's birthday had quietly become someone who asked permission to go to the grocery store alone. And the neighbors on their street, the ones who waved hello in the morning and saw Ricky washing his truck on weekends and thought he seemed like a decent guy, they had absolutely no idea what was happening behind that front door.
So let me pick up right here, because this is where things start to get complicated, and honestly, this is the part of the story that I keep coming back to, because it says so much about how these situations actually work in real life. For a long time, Donna had no plan, no exit strategy, no secret savings account, no bag packed under the bed, no phone number written on a piece of paper hidden in her shoe, nothing like that. Because when you've been told for years that you're not smart enough, not capable enough, not strong enough to survive on your own, you start to believe it. That's not weakness. That's just what this kind of control does to a person over time. It rewires the way you see yourself. But then something shifted, and it started with a woman named Patricia. Patricia was a regular customer at the bakery where Donna worked part-time. She came in every Thursday morning, ordered the same thing, black coffee and a blueberry muffin, and she always said good morning to every single person behind the counter by name. She was warm, easy to talk to, and she had this quiet kind of confidence that Donna noticed right away. There was something steady about her, solid, like nothing could easily knock her off balance. One Thursday, Donna was having a particularly hard day. She hadn't slept well. Ricky had been in a bad mood the night before, and she was moving carefully all morning, the way you move when you're trying not to step on anything that might suddenly explode. Patricia looked at her across the counter, paused for just a second, and said, simply, quietly, "Hey, are you okay?" Nobody had asked Donna that in a long time. Not like that, not like they actually wanted a real answer. Donna said she was fine. Of course she did. It was automatic by now. But Patricia didn't push it. She just nodded slowly and said, "I'm here if you ever want to talk." And she left a bigger tip than usual and walked out. This kind of thing went on for a few weeks. Small conversations, nothing dramatic. Patricia never asked too many questions. She never said, "I know what's going on at home." She just kept showing up every Thursday, kept being warm, kept making Donna feel like she was a real person worth talking to. And then one day, Patricia left a small card on the counter, said it was for a friend of hers who might need it someday. A phone number, a nonprofit in Tucson that helped people dealing with difficult situations at home. Donna understood exactly what she meant. She kept that card in her apron pocket for 3 weeks before she made the call. 3 weeks of picking it up, looking at the number, folding it back up, putting it away. 3 weeks of almost calling and then hearing Ricky's car turn into the driveway and putting the phone down fast, heart pounding, hands shaking a little. But she made the call. That's the thing that matters. After 3 weeks and years of silence before that, she made the call, and that phone call changed everything about what happened next.
The nonprofit was called Safe Path Tucson. And when Donna finally called them, she didn't even know what to say at first. She just stood in the bakery parking lot after her shift, looked at that little card, dialed the number, and when someone picked up, she went completely silent for almost 10 seconds. The woman on the other end didn't hang up. She didn't say, "Hello, hello, is anyone there?" in an impatient voice. She just waited, and then she said very gently, "Take your time, I'm not going anywhere." Donna started crying right there in the parking lot next to her old Honda in the Tucson afternoon heat. She hadn't cried like that in years, the real kind, not the quiet kind she did in the bathroom with the shower running so Ricky wouldn't hear. Over the next few weeks, Donna had several phone calls with a caseworker named Lisa. Always from the bakery parking lot, always after her shift, always with one eye on the road in case Ricky decided to show up unexpectedly. And slowly, conversation by conversation, a plan started to take shape. Now, here's the part that surprises most people when they hear this story. Donna didn't want to just leave. She was scared, yes. But she also knew something important. If she just packed a bag and walked out, Ricky would find her. He knew her family. He knew her sister's address. He knew her parents' street. He had her phone on a shared plan. He tracked the location on her car. Donna had thought about this carefully, and she understood a regular escape wouldn't work. Not with someone like Ricky. She needed to disappear in a way that didn't look like disappearing. The idea of staging her own absence, making it look like she simply went somewhere so that Ricky wouldn't immediately panic and start making calls, that idea didn't come from a movie. It came from Lisa, from conversations about safety planning, about buying time, about creating enough distance to get somewhere Ricky couldn't follow right away. Donna spent 2 months getting ready, 2 months of tiny, careful steps. She opened a new bank account at a different bank, alone during a shift when she told Ricky she was covering for a coworker. She saved small amounts of cash over time. She made copies of her ID, her social security card, her medical records. She memorized the address of a women's shelter 2 towns over that Lisa had given her. She told nobody, not her sister, not her mom, not even Patricia. Because the fewer people who knew, the safer the plan was. And that Tuesday night, the night the neighbor heard a noise and called the police, that was the night Donna had chosen. Not because something terrible had happened, but because Ricky came home in a particularly dark mood, and Donna made a decision right then and there that she was not going to wait one more day.
Okay, so let's talk about what actually happened that night, because there's a lot of noise around this story, and I mean that literally and figuratively. The neighbor heard something, the police came, Ricky answered the door looking calm, and then everyone went home thinking nothing was wrong. But here's what was really going on inside that house. When Ricky came home that evening, he was already in a bad place. Donna could tell from the way he closed the car door, just a little too hard, from the way he walked to the front door without looking up. She had learned to read these signs over years of living with him. Her whole body knew what they meant before her brain even processed them. He came inside, looked around the kitchen, and said the dinner smelled wrong. That was it. That was the trigger. Not a big fight, not some dramatic moment, just the dinner smelled wrong, and from there it escalated fast. He raised his voice. He knocked a glass off the counter. Not at her, but near her, close enough that she stepped back, and then he went to the other room and turned on the TV loud, which was somehow worse than the yelling. Donna stood in the kitchen. Her hands were steady, which surprised her. She had expected to feel scared, frozen, the way she usually did, but instead she felt something different. something clear. She looked at the kitchen, looked at the hallway, thought about the small bag she had packed 2 weeks ago and hidden behind some boxes in the back of the closet, and she thought, tonight, it's tonight. She waited until Ricky fell asleep in front of the TV. That took about an hour. She watched the clock. She kept her movements slow and normal, washed the dishes, wiped the counter, turned off the kitchen light. Just a regular evening. Nothing to notice. When she heard him snoring, she moved quietly to the closet. The bag was right where she left it. Cash, documents, a change of clothes, a cheap prepaid phone she had bought 3 weeks earlier and kept at the bakery until the day before. She picked up the bag and walked to the back door, not the front where a neighbor might see a light. And she stepped outside into the warm Tucson night. No dramatic goodbye, no note on the table, no last look around the house she had lived in for years. She walked 3 blocks to a gas station, called the number Lisa had given her for emergencies, and 20 minutes later, a volunteer from Safe Path Tucson pulled into that parking lot and drove her away. That loud noise the neighbor heard, that was the glass hitting the floor. Not Donna, just a glass. But it was enough to make one person pay attention. And that one person, without even knowing it, gave Donna just enough cover to walk out the back door and never come back. So now we have Donna, somewhere safe, somewhere Ricky doesn't know about. And we have Ricky, back in that house in Tucson, waking up the next morning to an empty bed and a very quiet kitchen. Here's what Ricky did, and I want you to pay attention to this part because it tells you everything you need to know about who this man was. He didn't call the police right away. He didn't call Donna's sister in a panic. He didn't reach out to her parents saying, "Hey, I'm worried. Have you heard from her?" He waited. For almost a full week, Ricky Garcia told people, if they asked, that Donna was visiting her sister. He said it casually, easily, like a man who had nothing to hide and nothing to worry about. A co-worker of Donna's asked about her on Wednesday. Ricky said she'd be back soon. The neighbor who had called the police that Tuesday night ran into Ricky at the mailbox on Friday and asked if everything was okay. Ricky smiled and said absolutely. His wife was just out of town for a little while. 1 week. He kept that story going for 1 week. And then Donna's sister, a woman named Carmen who lived in Albuquerque, called the Tucson police. She had been trying to reach Donna for days on her regular number, getting no answer. She had texted several times, nothing, and something felt wrong to her, even though she didn't know exactly why. Just a feeling, a sister feeling. When police went back to Ricky's door, this time the conversation was different. He was still calm, but now the questions were harder. When exactly did she leave? What was she driving? Did she take her passport? Why hasn't she called her family? And most importantly, why did he wait a week to tell anyone she was even gone? Ricky had answers for everything. Smooth, practiced answers. He said Donna sometimes needed space. He said she had been emotional lately. He painted a picture of a woman who was unstable, difficult, prone to disappearing without warning. He was planting a seed, making sure that when people looked at this situation, they'd wonder if maybe Donna was the problem. Police got a warrant to search the house. They went through every room, they checked the basement, they found nothing that indicated violence, no signs of a struggle, no blood, nothing, which honestly made them more confused, not less, because where was she? The investigation was open but going nowhere fast. Ricky was cooperating, the house was clean, and Donna, wherever she was, had gone completely silent. No activity on her known bank accounts, no phone pings, no social media. It was like she had simply evaporated into the hot Arizona air. For 2 more weeks, the case just sat there. Neighbors talked. Local news picked it up. A missing woman in Tucson. A husband with a very convenient story. Everyone had an opinion, and Ricky, calm, composed Ricky, gave one short interview to a local TV station where he looked directly into the camera and said he just wanted his wife to come home safe.
And then Donna called the police herself. Not Ricky's local precinct. Not a tip line. She called the Pima County Sheriff's Office directly, asked to speak with the detective assigned to her case, and when he picked up, she told him exactly who she was, that she was alive, that she was safe, and that she had left her home voluntarily to escape years of psychological and emotional abuse. The detective on the other end of that call later told a journalist that in 20 years of work, he had never had a missing persons case end quite like that. A woman calling in, calm, clear, with a prepared statement and a list of dates, incidents, and names of witnesses ready to give. because Donna had been preparing for this call too. Not just the escape, the conversation after. Lisa from Safe Path Tucson had helped her understand her rights, had connected her with a victim's advocate, and had made sure that when Donna broke her silence, she did it on her own terms. She gave her statement. She described the years of control, the isolation, the incidents she had documented quietly in a small notebook she had kept hidden at the bakery. She named the dates when Ricky had shoved her, grabbed her wrist hard enough to leave marks, thrown things in her direction. She described the way he had cut her off from her family, tracked her location, made her feel like she had nowhere to go and no one to turn to. And then she said something that hit everyone who heard it hard. She said that she didn't stage her disappearance to confuse anyone or to hurt anyone. She did it because she needed enough time and distance to get somewhere safe before Ricky realized she was really gone. Because she knew, from experience, that the most dangerous moment for a woman in her situation is the moment she leaves. She was right about that. The research backs it up completely. The period right after leaving is statistically the most dangerous time. Ricky was brought in for questioning again. This time, it was very different. With Donna's statement, her documented evidence, and testimony from her caseworker, detectives had a much clearer picture of what had been happening in that house for years. He was charged with domestic abuse and false reporting for lying to police about Donna's whereabouts when they first came to the door. Carmen, Donna's sister, flew to Tucson the day after the call. She hadn't seen her sister in months and said that when she finally did, she barely recognized how different Donna seemed. Lighter somehow, tired, yes, shaken, yes, but lighter. And Patricia, the woman from the bakery who had left that little card on the counter. She found out what happened through a mutual friend. She didn't say much publicly, but she showed up at the shelter one afternoon with a bag of blueberry muffins and left them at the front desk with a note that just said, "I knew you could do it."
So what do we take away from all of this? I've been sitting with this story for a while now, and every time I think about it, I come back to the same thing. It wasn't one big dramatic moment that saved Donna. It wasn't a police investigation or a news story or someone kicking a door down. It was a series of small, quiet things. A regular customer who asked, "Are you okay?" and actually meant it. A card left on a counter. A phone call made from a parking lot. A notebook hidden at work. A bag packed 2 weeks early and stored behind some boxes in a closet. Small things, done carefully, over time, and together they added up to a way out. I think that's important to say out loud, because when people hear stories like this one, they sometimes ask, why didn't she just leave sooner? And the honest answer is that leaving is not simple. It's not a decision you make once on a Tuesday morning and then it's done. For a lot of people in Donna's situation, leaving is something you have to plan, prepare for, and time very carefully, because the wrong move at the wrong moment can make everything much more dangerous, not less. Donna understood that, and she did something incredibly difficult. She stayed calm, stayed patient, stayed focused for months, all while living with a man who controlled every part of her daily life. That takes a kind of strength that most people will never have to find out if they have. Ricky's case moved through the courts over the following year. He was convicted on the domestic abuse charges and sentenced to time in prison. Donna was not in the courtroom for the verdict. She had already moved to a new city by then, had started a new job, and according to Carmen, was doing better than she had in years. She never gave a public interview. She never went on TV to tell her story. The only quote that ever made it out publicly, through Carmen, was this. She said that the hardest part wasn't leaving. The hardest part was believing she deserved to. Let that one sit for a second. If you are listening to this and any part of Donna's story sounds familiar, please know that there are people who can help, and that help is available right now today. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is one place to start. You can call or text, and everything is confidential. And if you don't need that resource yourself, maybe share this episode with someone who might. You never know who in your life is carrying something heavy and trying to figure out how to put it down. Thank you so much for listening to Ginger English today. If this story meant something to you, please leave us a rating, hit that subscribe button, and share it with someone who would appreciate it. New episodes come out every week, and we are so glad you're here with us. Until next time, take care of yourselves and take care of each other.